So thank you everyone for being here and waiting. But I'm happy to be here. My name is Giselle Velasquez. My preferred pronouns are she, her, ella. I am one of the two assistant directors for the Office of Student Services here at School of the Arts and Architecture. I had the pleasure of also being a part of the ACE workflow cohort this past summer. Before I dive into my form and my experience, I thought it would be fruitful if you all got to know a little bit about me and my trajectory here. And also, I've been in this position for 5 years, and it's my first big girl job, and it's a pleasure to be here. So I've not only have been working in higher education, but I did start off in higher education, kind of how we all did. So I am actually an anteater. So I graduated with my bachelor's from UCI. So if we have any fellow anteaters in here, zot, zot, zot. My experience in being a part of a UC system, especially Irvine, and I would like to note that I am a first generation student. My parents are immigrants from Mexico and Cuba. So I grew up with, oh, you have to be in STEM, you have to be a lawyer, you have to be an engineer. So, that played a role where it was expected of me to go to school. I had the good grades. I got into UCI with engineering. But let me tell you, it was rough. And I like to explain this part of my story because I like to demystify pursuing higher education. I feel like we all aspire to do great things. Higher ed, it's not just going to school, it's a lot more than that. It's navigating a whole institution, which I learned very quickly. Within the first 2 quarters of my first year at UCI, which I came in as a first year, I was placed on academic probation and then subject to dismissal. And that led me to speak to a counselor/advisor. And in that session, it was not good. I was crying in this individual's office. I don't think I got more than one sentence. I didn't even get a tissue. They just said, you have to switch out. When I navigated then to switching out and towards the latter half of my time at UCI, I got to experience programs within like the Center for Educational Partnerships where I was like, oh, there's free tutoring. There's a success center I could have been referred out to, but I was placed where I was supposed to be, which led me to pursuing my education in both psychology and education. I was a double major. That landed me into working with UCI Center for Educational Partnerships. I was a student coordinator for the Early Academic Outreach Program and Upward Bound, which that's where I found my sense of community. I found individuals who were not only my staff members, but also my classmates and also the students and their families that I would work with. They gave me a sense of purpose. And also, not only did I advise them and tutor them, I also played, I would say, like an older cousin/sibling, letting them know what higher education can be, just starting the demystifying process for them in case it doesn't go well, just knowing that there are always options. Not only was I demystifying higher education for them, but I was also giving them the institutional navigational knowledge that I wish someone would have given me. So that's how I got into being essentially my interest in higher education. But I've always had a research interest. Being first gen and being in a UC, a research institution, I often heard the term research. Oh, you got to be a part of research. It looks good in application. Like you have to do it. So I did it. It's always been a learning curve. I always pursued it because it's a challenge. It's something I want to learn. I am essentially, not only am I a student and wanting to give back, but I'm also I like to learn. So I play that. I mentioned this because there are two key pieces of experience within my time at UCI that propelled me into essentially my next step. But before I get into my next step as to how I got here, I just want to show a picture of my community, my Upward Bound team. They're family. It was the best 2 years of my life at UCI. And then also my badge, I have orgullo as a first generation student to show my badge to my parents, like, hey, look, it's a fancy badge with UCI, even though my name is like on a sticker, but it just means a lot. And then now, fast forward, that propelled me into graduate school. I pursued a master's in science and counseling, specifically student affairs and college counseling at Fresno State. I put the logo of this graduate student association because it's an association that I was actually one of the founders. I was the vice president for this association, which they're still going strong on Instagram if y'all are curious or if any of you are interested in pursuing a graduate degree, although it's in the Central Valley. But during my time at Fresno State, I was able to continue working with both research and also with students. So within Fresno State, the school, I was able to work with the Learning Center. So I was a tutoring coordinator and I worked with their Support Net program. More specifically with the Support Net program, I was able to do workshops, academic success workshops to support students in their transition to higher education. And then also I was able to work with students who were on subject to dismissal on academic probation. And I was that individual to provide them with resources, be their listening ear, remind them that there are options. And then, as you all know, oftentimes when students don't do well, it's not because of them. Sometimes it's because of life circumstances. So I was able to just put my skills to the test and then also lean in on my supervisors to provide guidance. And then outside of Fresno State, I was able to work within the community. I worked with a nonprofit called Integral Community Solutions Institute, which there's my team there. Well, some of my team. I was a research assistant. So within this nonprofit, they brought in a grant where they were tasked with evaluating different nonprofits across the county of Fresno to see what works and what doesn't work and what makes them successful. And that propelled me to then merge both my research background and my academic background to do a thesis. So I was one of two individuals in my class to produce a thesis, and I looked at the support that Latina teenage mothers had that allowed them to pursue higher education, whether it be a 2-year program, a 4-year program. And as you can see, I'm pictured there. And my graduate school was only 2 years. I finished during the pandemic. And as soon as the pandemic happened, I started a lot of Zoom interviews, which led me to this position, an assistant director of the Office of Student Services. I have pictured here my first day in person because I was a pandemic hire. So a lot of my time was via Zoom alone. And then we're still a small team. We're only a team of 3. And my time here, it has been a roller coaster. It was started off via Zoom, a lot of the COVID testing. There was a lot of back and forth between, okay, we're on Zoom, but we're coming back. And one of the times that we had to come back, I took a COVID test. I was asymptomatic and immediately sent back home. But once we were for sure stable, then we all know we have experienced the strikes, the encampments, the presidency. So it has felt like a journey within these 5 years. It's been a lot of learning, especially as a non-UCLA alum. But now I feel like I finally feel settled. I finally feel like I have the hang of it, which it was during one of the advising conference this past UC Advisors conference that I got wind that there's a cohort going on, that we're going to get an email. So I was anxiously waiting for the email because I had the sense of, okay, I'm ready to do more than what's in my job description. I want to become innovative. There is this need. I have more and more emails coming in. And then also throughout my 5 years, majority of it, we were understaffed. So it definitely felt like we were putting our own fires. But thankfully now we're fully staffed and I was able to participate in the cohort. Similar to my colleagues within the cohort, there are a lot of different processes that I was like, okay, we need to revamp this. We need data. We need the data because data speaks. Like, we know the importance of data, but I'm only one person. And I was like, okay, what's one process that I know we need to revamp? And what's one process that's taking a lot of my admin time and is cluttering my inbox? And sad to say, but like, maybe I don't enjoy as much. How can I make it more enjoyable? Which led me to the transfer course credit petition process. And I kind of want to paint a picture of how it was. When my team, so myself, Chantel, and Michelle presented this to Bessie and Shala when they were doing like the interviews for the cohort, I can say they're probably surprised as how we would review transfer course petitions. We started with the blue petition. The student would have to fill out a blue petition, send that over to our inbox along with the syllabus. And then we would then upload that to a box file, and we would have a 1 hour meeting each week where all three of us would share one screen, evaluate it. So it was definitely tedious, which was why I chose this, because it took time off of my calendar, and then also it would clutter the inbox, and there was no way of tracking, okay, what came in, what's missing. So sometimes we would miss some, students would come in a little upset with our timing, but now we have a workflow and a form. This is just a snippet of the top, but it's very much nicer, very much professional. And then on the back end, we can see more of it, like, okay, what record have we received? It gives us just a snapshot of it. We did start it this fall. It's still in the trial phase. At least in my head it is. I'm still having the challenge of, okay, how can we get it reviewed in a timely manner? How can it be something that I'm actually going through, not something that's sitting in the background? How can I get my team on board? And then also, how can I get the other advisors on board? Just earlier this week, I had another blue petition, and I felt like, blue petition, I thought we got rid of it. But no, so it's been a transition. And I do want to say it's more than just a form. It showed me that I can still learn. I even though I'm in this position, advising students, doing admin work, I am still an innovator, and I didn't do this alone. I did this with the support of Bessie, Shala, my cohort colleagues, and then also Alina. I felt empowered. And it also propelled me to, I'm an innovator. I can learn, I can make change, I can bring positive light into our office, not only for myself, but also my colleagues, and then also our other advisors, and especially the students. And I now catch myself just throughout the day, like, what else can I revamp? And I have like a running notes list on my phone of like what we can do next. I have a whiteboard in behind me that have like different workflows that I would like to continue working on. So with that being said, there's light in the community. Throughout my trajectory into higher education, I have found that my community has allowed me to just, create light, and then also think outside the box and believe in myself that I can do this. I'm not alone. Even though we're a small but mighty team, there is a world of advisors out there that we can lean on. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to chat about it. Yes, we are advisors, but we're also individuals. We also are professionals. We have aspirations within our role and outside of our role. So I'm very thankful for you all to listen in on my talk. It was more than a form. It's a reminder that even though sometimes we're in the thick of it, we're supported. We have our advisors across campus who may be going through similar things as well. But yeah, thank you all.